Hey everybody! So, for my paper in this class, it's titled A Narrative History of Jeff Bezos and His Company Amazon. As the title kind of suggests, my main research question that I really kind of looked into was how did Jeff Bezos create this digital titan kind of company? And then, what are the effects that we've seen in not just America but worldwide due to the creation and the explosion of this company? I think it was a very significant question because not only was I looking into, just the general background of it, I also looked into some of the cultural aspect changes, the complaints that his company has regarding human rights in the workplace, and then, outside of the country, all kinds of stuff. So this has totally changed the way a lot of Americans shop. You can be anonymous and buy whatever you want, and no one really knows the face behind what's purchased, who's purchasing what. And that has definitely opened up some doors that I don't think people really expected. Um, so, not only are we seeing that, we're also seeing a total change in how um, everything has been working since about the late 1990s when Bezos kind of created this company. My key primary sources basically came from Bezos himself. I had a lot of really good interviews that I pulled from, so I'm pulling from his mouth, and I did them over the years. So the start of the company in 95, and then, pushing on to modern day. Like, I was finding things all the way up to 2020. And so that was really interesting to really look into. I also pulled a lot of his official shareholder letters and everything. So most of my primary resources came from him himself, either in written format, video format, or I also kind of looked into his autobiography a little bit, all kinds of things. So I feel like I did a pretty good job of, really developing and creating his voice, so to speak, in terms of primary resource research. For my summation, I found a lot of interesting things because Amazon started out as this bookstore that was online. That was all it was supposed to be. And so many people kind of latched onto it that Bezos had this idea and he was like, why don't we expand? So he went to music, then he went to video, and it just kept coming. And so he said, why don't we just do everything? Specifically, in an interview with Charlie Rose, he was asked, are you making the Walmart of the internet? And he said, no, I'm making the Amazon of the internet. And so he very much wanted to push, like, it was his creation, his idea. He was not kind of stealing from other stuff, all kinds of things. On the flip side, I found it interesting to see, like, what are some of the ramifications that we've seen because of this. So we've got this sudden, boom of a store. Everything changed when Amazon really started picking up, specifically when he introduced 2-day shipping. That completely changed our mail system. It changed how we do deliveries. Suddenly you had to be on it. UPS, USPS, FedEx, all of them had to get on that bandwagon because suddenly consumers who were comfortable buying something and waiting 2 to 3 weeks for it to get through the mail are suddenly saying, where is it? I'm wanting it 2 days from now. If you live close enough to a distribution center, which are starting to crop up, around about 2010, you can get it within hours of clicking a couple buttons. And so totally changed consumer expectations in terms of timeline of I've purchased this, where is it? Another thing I really found interesting were he has had quite a few situations over the years where it's human rights issues in the workplace. People are being denied breaks. They're being worked extremely long hours, like 14 plus hour days with, maybe a 5 minute break in that single time span. People have been noted to have died on, in his warehouses from overwork or other situations, and no one noticed until it was noted that, they stopped working. And so all of these things have been kind of coming to light. People have been upset about it, but for the most part, I even noted there were a couple of walkouts and things like that in some of his multinational company portions, but for the most part, it's an American company, and that's where I focused a lot of my research. Overall, basically, he's totally changed the way Americans shop. He's changed the way a lot of, the world shops. because other countries are starting to pick up on this. Fascinating, research. It was interesting to kind of delve into it and see where he's taking his ideas and everything. And so, yeah, really fun. Had a good time with it, but I hope you guys have a good day.